Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sales Life. I'm here with the king of the Inland Empire, LinkedIn's own Ernest Hemingway, Sean Ward, my co-host, not reluctant, wants to be here, wants to do this project, and we're diving in again on a Saturday. If you're watching this on YouTube, you got to see Sean right now. Like if you're listening to this, he's in his backyard in wonderful California. Looks great, looks green. Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
It's good to see you, buddy. It has been a while. Yeah, I have, I love that we intentionally don't talk until we do this, because every time we talk, we end up talking for an hour and then we say we should have been recording something. So it's been a while.
All that energy will be on the show today. That's the key. That's yes. what we're excited about. So, where to dive in? I'm curious about life momentum versus career momentum. Which one do you feel like you have more of right now, and why?
Neither. It's the energy. The energy's been low for both for a while. I'm in a really weird season of life. So it's actually, you said momentum, but I think, energy, kind of the same thing, right?
Sure.
Talking with another buddy just 2 days ago about this, that like everybody has a bandwidth of available energy, and mine has been so tapped with things that have nothing to do with work. Actually, I was talking with a guy on our team, Josh, who's been with us for 3 years, almost 3 years. We were at lunch yesterday and I said, Josh, like you've never even seen me operating at full capacity at work. Like I don't even know what the percentage is, 50% capacity for the entirety of your tenure with us. So it's a crazy life season. I feel like I'm just coming out of it, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll see.
A bunch of this has to do with your home being renovated, yes, and a fire in an investment property, and all, like there's just stuff that
and a lawsuit
is piled up.
Yeah. Yeah. The lawsuit I won't talk about, but we're trying to respond with, with light and love. So it's been a real faith challenge, but yeah. And then this remodel is just crazy. I mean, currently you could barely see it. This is the porch of a little 500 square foot house in the back where myself and my wife and my 3 kids are all living, sleeping, doing homework, folding laundry, eating meals. It's not terrible. We have a great backyard, and it's going to be 90 degrees today, and we're going to go in the pool. So life is good. But yeah, we've been out of the house for 2 years, and yeah.
Well, you and I were super bummed about not being able to record because you're living in what will be your studio.
What was my office? Yeah, yeah.
And however, I will say this is probably better.
It's an upgrade.
It is truly pretty cool to I can't quite get over it. See, I mean, it's better than the local news. We'll say that. So energy low. And, I kind of think about listeners too, because, I'm trying to think about this as primarily you and I are improving our sales life through friendship. So we're journeying together on this, talking like about ideas, media stuff, energy. But I'm also mindful of, if this becomes a show, there's an audience. So, I like the idea of speaking into people's lives out there that are listening to this thinking, I'm exactly like Sean. Like I've got 50%, I've been operating at 50% for however many years. I feel that same way. I'm wanting to change, and I can go on this adventure with these guys, which kind of leads me to, we're sort of building this as we go. But our idea for a cover for this podcast art, again, it's very meta to talk about your podcast on your own podcast, but
actually, this isn't even a podcast yet because nobody knows about it but us and my wife, who by the way, as she was helping me set this up, she said, "That's the shirt you're wearing," and then she said, "The other guy always looks so nice." So she made me put on a collar shirt. So
See, I
just trying to be like you, bud.
I figured this was all that you had. Like this type of shirt is the only shirt I've seen you in. So it's like
I know.
I picture your closet like Batman. Just open it up.
I don't have much variation. It's true. Yeah.
But on our cover, so our idea is to put Sales Life on a billboard on a building in a city, right? And so it conveys this like we're selling a healthy sales life. And it's obviously a work in process. We're not selling anything. We're saying like we want to bring energy, enthusiasm, vitality through healthy work, full life, faith, all that stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, real life.
We want to put that on a billboard and for people to see. And I'm kind of picturing it happening at sunrise because, you know, I sort of picture people saying, these are two guys I'd like to spend my commute with, like sort of on the way to the office. I know I'm going to sit down and make 300 cold calls and negotiate deals, and it's going to be pretty intense. And now I have this sort of light interaction with these gents on my way there. And then on the billboard, I picture two of us sort of like in the distance, you see two guys working on Sales Life. So that's my idea for the cover.
I can envision it. Yeah. And let's hope everybody's commute is only about 20 minutes because that's as long as you and I can pay attention to something. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Perfect time to work out. Perfect time.
Listen, I think why have a podcast? I thought about this and, you know, why do a podcast? I am a firm believer in that there's just too much stuff out there, right? There's just... you know, because Gary Vee said everybody should have a podcast. Everybody went out and did a podcast. And it's like, you know, I don't know. Like there's a lot of people who are very skilled at interviewing. And there's a lot of interview style podcasts, right? Like Joe Rogan is amazing at interviewing people. And the question and just where it goes is amazing. But that's a skill, right? Like, if I were to sit down and say, I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to interview people. No, I mean, like, I don't have that skill set, and maybe it could develop and whatnot, but there's just so much out there that like, I'm a big believer in not contributing to the white noise. Like, I just don't want to do that. But the reason I do this, what we're doing is because I think it scratches an itch that I've had and would add value. It's got to add value for me to have interest in it. And like the thing is, like, this is real life that we live, right? We know, I know you only through LinkedIn. I mean, that's where we met. And LinkedIn, you know, all social media is where people put their best selves, and then LinkedIn is like the corporate version of your best self. It's such a veneer, but it's like, what's behind the veneer? And behind the veneer is, you know, people like me that have been drowning in life for the last 2.5 years. And you wouldn't really know that, but I think it's important to talk about it, right? There's people with way bigger problems, like health issues, like family members with health issues, but they still get up and have to go to a job and have to go to a sales job where you have to bring enthusiasm and try and, you know, convince people that you can help them. I mean, it's daunting at times. Yeah. So I think it's worth talking about. And so here we are.
Yeah. Here we are. Where do you want to start? I usually ask the question. Speaking of interviews, I interview you on this, and I want to turn it over to you. I want you to start this time.
Well, this is maybe trivial, but you gave me the best cold calling idea I've ever seen yesterday with one of your posts about this round of golf thing that you're doing. I immediately sent it to my team and said, and one of the guys on the team said, all right, next week is Masters week. So Tuesday through Friday, we'll all do this. And I thought it was a great idea. Explain it. It's interesting.
People love this idea. I'm pretty shocked. Like,
is this your idea?
It was my idea.
All right. I love it.
And I'm sure it's been done before, but every freaking member of my team was out actually golfing. And I'm sitting in the office on Friday afternoon doing work and thinking I would love to be actually golfing. But the biggest listing, or one of the biggest sales of my life, came in late on a Friday afternoon, which I don't know if I told you that story before.
No.
But I literally
Maybe now.
got a call. I sold an $18 million shopping center because I was in the office late on a Friday, and the client's controller called and said, we're looking for a broker. And basically the guy said, if someone answers at this time of day, that's probably our person. So
I love that.
it was a big project. My broker and I went like 3 days later, drove down to the little town they live in, own this big shopping center, signed the listing agreement, whatever. 6-7 months later, we sell a $18 million deal from.
Crazy.
So
Being there,
sometimes
being
I can
present.
leave and play golf. Yeah, sometimes I can. But anyway, so I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I'd really like to play golf. Maybe I'll just make this a little game. And Rachel on my team, so I very much struggle to make cold calls throughout my career.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is when I see the list, when I see my CRM, I'm kind of like paralyzed. And whenever I go to dig in, I'm like, well, the data's not right for that. Or that person's number is not right, or something like that. Like I'm too much of a perfectionist to just
Interesting.
call and call and call and call. So highly recommend this out there if you have a team member as wonderful as Rachel, who's on my multifamily team. I just said to her, look, my biggest issue is not calling. Like I would sit and call people all day. I love it. It gives me energy. I laugh. I make people laugh. You get cussed at. You get hung up on. You make progress. Can you just send me in the morning 12 people to call? And she was like, yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
And she's got a huge handle on we're tracking at this point like 45,000 units in the multifamily space, probably 2,500 owners.
Yeah.
And so now I just get this email at the beginning of the day that's like, here's the people you need to call. And I print it out and I call them. And now I'm going to go from 12 to 18 and I'll send it to you first, but I'm going to make a little scorecard for cold call golf.
So 18 calls, each call is a hole on a golf course.
Yes.
And you, at the end of your round of 18, you have a score based on how you did.
Yeah, so play it at home. And here's how I scored it. But you tell me what you think, because I could be off on this and we could like shift it. Even par is a conversation. You talk to another human.
Got a decision maker on the phone.
100%. That's even par for me.
Okay.
So then you go, let's first focus on the bad. So what would a bogey be? I'm kind of like bogey. I'm a 14 in real life, so bogeys are fine for me. It's like, okay, I got the right number, left a message.
Okay.
Not the greatest feeling in the world, but not the worst thing that could happen. Double bogey is like, I got the wrong number, right? I just, no answer.
That sounds like that's Rachel's fault, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's your caddy's fault.
That's the caddy's fault for the double
That's
bogey.
my caddy's fault. It's a bad read, which makes sense. But I think to play cold call golf truly, there's no mulligans. Like you start with 18 people, 18 numbers.
Yeah.
And you're not looking up another number because you don't want to stop. You just want to play. You can't stop in the middle of a round and go to the range, try to work something out. So now let's go to the positive. Okay. What would a birdie be? Well, to me, a birdie is like you're awarded with the meeting. Right? Because you're calling to
get a meeting for sure.
To propose to
of course.
So eagle, you leave the call with an unexpected award for a BOV. Think about it. The person just says, yeah, let's meet. Why don't you go ahead and do the BOV? Then we'll sit down.
Okay.
Get together.
I can see that.
There's a
so
huge
the meeting. It's not just a meeting to say hi. How are you? There's an impending need attached to the meeting.
Yep. Double eagle, which I don't even know what that is in real golf, but I know it happens. I think I said that might have been the VOV. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
I'll have to look back. But the ace was the killer. The ace was like you get a property under contract or you get a deal signed up.
How is this even possible? You cold call somebody, and at the end of that call, you have a deal under contract.
It's about as...
What about it? What about if you get a verbal, hey, skip the BOV, I want to hire you. Just send me the contract.
I mean...
That's about
that
as
to me
good
is,
as you could get for a cold call.
Yeah. I think that's close to an ace.
I love it.
But yeah, I'll make a scorecard and...
Dude, I think it's an awesome idea, honestly, and I think you should get it out there, because like gamifying anything that's tough, and like I've learned this for me in my workouts, like gamifying it is huge, making it like bite-sized but competitive, and it's everything. I love it, man.
Any breakthroughs for you recently?
It's interesting, as you were just talking about the resistance you meet with cold calling was, it's not perfect, right? So that offers some resistance for you. Like, my list isn't perfect, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I thought about this a few weeks ago. My resistance is that when I call, I have to shift and start looking into the unknown, and I have to face the fear of I may never get another deal again. And that fear over having to face that is what keeps me from calling so often. I was just like journaling about this. It's like facing the fear, being confronted head on. And of course, that fear is confirmed when your first 10 calls all result in hang-ups or no thank yous or just nothing. Actually your first 100 before you even get like something good. So my big problem is the peaks and valleys, right? Like, I'm not a consistent caller. And so when I start again, it's like I'm starting from scratch. And now I'm talking about purely cold calling for new relationships, new business.
Right.
So that's it for me. It's that fear that I may never, ever do this again. Okay, and then I'm like three steps from, destitute and out on the street. So that's the way my scarcity brain works.
I just pictured you as the Greatest Showman at the beginning when he's like Four on the Roof or whatever. That's the picture that came to my mind when you said that. But okay, so this is my favorite moment in this podcast so far. This is exactly why I wanted to do this and do this with you, is what you just said. The fear, facing the fear of never getting another deal.
Yeah. That's why it's easier to just, hey, I'll just keep working on the ones I have in front of me. And actually, right. There's plenty of people who make careers out of that. There's a guy in my office who's just a salt of the earth guy. I love this man. And his goal was get something signed today. It doesn't matter what it was. Get an LOI signed, get a listing agreement signed, just get move deals forward. And I always asked him, I'm like, Rick, how do you find business? How do you cold call? He's like, I don't cold call. I just, whatever's in front of me, I just do the absolute best I can on it, and then more stuff comes. And it's like, okay, I've never even considered that. Right. But for me, I've built our business, my team's business, on cold calling. And it's much easier to just focus on what we have. And, by the way, 95% of the day is focused on what we have in front of us. But I'm still a believer in, to fill the pipeline, you got to take 30, 45 minutes a day and look for new opportunities. But I avoid it because it makes me confront, like, oh my God, it may never be there.
I love that too. And one thing I'm trying to battle that's right along the lines of this conversation is when you go to email. Because like the number one excuse for not prospecting is emptying your inbox, right? I mean, you're like, I can't stand that I have so many emails. I just got to go. And I mean, that's exactly what let's just keep the status quo, not face that fear and whatever. But I just love that. I definitely have the same thing. The only thing that gets me over that fear is the mentality and the thought of like recent deals and thinking I had no clue that those properties even existed, right? So you're sort of building this muscle of like, I don't know what's coming my way next week, but it's going to close before Christmas. And then I'm going to look back and be like, well, that was a mystery. Where did that thing come from?
Always happens. That's
Yeah.
just, actually, yeah. It's so random, actually, when we look back at our deals. And the stuff we've pursued turns into nothing. And then our biggest deals of the year came out of nowhere. It's hard to trace direct lines to outbound efforts. It's hard to trace your income to the outbound efforts you have. It's like, that's why I do things like LinkedIn, and that's why we're doing this. Will this podcast turn into a deal? I doubt. Like, I couldn't trace a straight line to it, but it all just contributes to just being out there, to the branding piece. And yeah, you just never know. Never know.
You referred me a buddy that has multifamily in Central Kentucky. So when we do a deal together, I'm going to fly. That's going to be our first meeting. I'm going to fly out your referral check and hand it to you in person.
I love it.
It's going to be awesome.
Hey, you mentioned that the $18 million listing that somebody called you, right? And you picked up. Dude, I had something like that happen too. I don't know what number broker you were, but I was the third broker this guy called, first one to pick up. And it turned into representing them, renewing their lease. And we do a lot of renewal work on behalf of tenants. And this was like a 95,000 square foot renewal. It was like a big payday, a multi-six-figure payday from literally picking up the phone. And the guy's like, come on in, I need somebody to help me. I mean, that was the pitch. He pitched me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the randomness of it, dude. And actually, another deal, one of my biggest clients that I had for a decade plus, can I say their name? Probably right here, right? They're headquartered in Orange County, and our old office used to be directly across the street from Angel Stadium. And so when I was a young broker, we would, pre-kids, buddies after work, there was always tickets floating around the office. So we'd go over to a game. And this is back before kids, and when I drank beer, went to the game, had a couple beers, leave, go back to the office, and I just didn't want to get in my car. I'm a very cautious person when it comes to that stuff. And so I went to my desk. It was probably 8:30 at night, and I started cold calling. Like, why? I don't know why.
I love it.
But I get the director of operations for phone, and it was a cold call where he was just laughing. He's like, anybody who's calling me at this hour of the night about real estate, I'll take a meeting with. And then we transacted. I sold plants across the country for them, and headquartered office space, Fifth Avenue and Midtown Manhattan leases. I mean, it all just came from that, right? So the randomness and the off-hour timing and just being there, I mean, it's just part of this business. It's actually it's the best part of this business. It's exciting.